Good afternoon, and just want to start off by saying thank you to Wendy for coming on today. We appreciate it. And wanted to say happy birthday to Rocky. His birthday is tomorrow.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Rocky.
Happy birthday.
It's the birthday episode of Leadership.
Cancer. You're a Cancer like me.
Yep. Grab.
So just want to tell you guys a little bit about Hull & Chandler. Hull & Chandler is sponsoring the Hull & Chandler Leadership Series. And Hull & Chandler is a client-centered law firm providing legal services to individuals, families, businesses, and nonprofits in Charlotte, North Carolina, and throughout the Carolinas. Our award-winning attorneys specialize in business and contract law, employment law, civil litigation, estates, wills, trusts, personal injury, commercial real estate, and nonprofit public charity law. If interested in learning more about how our attorneys can help you solve your real-world problems, please visit our website at hullandchandler.com and schedule a consultation with one of our award-winning attorneys. The law firm of Hull & Chandler is proud to sponsor the Leadership Series, a program where Hull & Chandler attorney Rocky Cabagnat interviews local and regional leaders in the nonprofit, private, and public sectors to discuss the real-world interplay of law, business, and the social dynamics within the context of our continuously changing times. Rocky helps nonprofits stay compliant, avoid legal problems, and resolve legal issues when they come up. Nonprofits looking for legal services can choose to bring Rocky on as a management team member through the Fractional General Counsel program, or can utilize Rocky as an attorney on standby through our firm's affordable legal subscription service. If you want to learn more, you can follow up with me directly. Don't let your nonprofit go without access to quality legal counsel when it needs it. So everyone, please welcome to the Leadership Series and take it away, Rocky.
All right, hey everybody. Again, thank you for showing up on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, in the middle of the summer. So I think those are like a couple of things there. It's hard to show up in the middle of the week. It's hard to show up in the middle of the summer. But, again, thank you all for showing up. I think we got a great show today. We're going to dive into a little bit of local art today. And so joining us today is Wendy Hickey, who's the Executive Director of Art Pop Street Gallery. So if you're like me and you commute, I commute from the north, come from Salisbury, not every day, but almost every day. You might see some billboards, right? You're driving around maybe, and obviously you might see some lawyer's billboard. It says, hey, have you been in a wreck? Hire me. But sometimes you'll see in the Charlotte area some billboards that really look like art. Like, why is that there? Why isn't that, over in one of the art museums there on Tryon? And it is art. It is true art. It's not advertising as art. It's art. It's art. And the art is sponsored by Art Pop Street Gallery. And that's what I learned as we started to kind of develop today's program. But it's a lot more. And so I'd like to just open the floor here to Emily, just to introduce yourself. And before we get into Art Pop, I like to steal a question from my friend Pat McDowell, who's a great nonprofit consultant, has a great podcast himself called Your Path to Nonprofit Leadership. And he always asks his guests, what is your path to nonprofit leadership? So maybe you can give us a little bit about your background. You're obviously an executive. What was your path to your position in nonprofit leadership?
Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Hickey, and I'm the founder and executive director of Art Pop Street Gallery. Nice to meet all of you today, and thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Rocky, thanks for the introduction, and Shannon for having me here today. Rocky, thanks for noticing our billboards. We appreciate that so much. And I'm just curious of anyone in the room, have you ever seen our local artists' billboards or newsstands or art at the airport or at different shopping centers around Charlotte? I just would like to know if anybody in the room does know or are familiar with us in any way, and I'll be happy to cover all the good news about Art Pop.
Well, how did you get to Art Pop?
So for 20 years, I worked in the billboard advertising industry, and I was in sales and national sales and management in the billboard world. And I was serving on the board of directors in Pennsylvania for a local arts council, and was thinking, what am I going to do to really serve my board role well? And make an impact to local artists in the community that I was living with at that time and working for Adams Outdoor Advertising. And it was like an epiphany. The light bulb went off for me that I sold billboard advertising by day. Why don't I give local artists billboards? And really, that's how Art Pop Street Gallery was born. So very grassroots back then. Our local arts council and Adams Outdoor Advertising partnered together to feature local artists on billboards. And then fast forward to 2014, when I was I transferred from actually at that time Michigan, working for Adams. I transferred to Charlotte. And Art Pop Street Gallery was officially born here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we partnered with Adams Outdoor Advertising and featured the art of 20 local artists. And ever since then, we've been doing that every year. And how that works is we do an open call for local artists to submit their art. And each year, out of all the submissions, which is usually hundreds, we are able to jury in 20 local artists. 19 of those are adult artists. One of those is a senior high school student artist who after high school graduation will be studying the arts in college. And those 20 artists, fast forward to today, 2021, those 20 artists collectively enjoy a $6 million advertising campaign for an entire year and a whole lot of other benefits.
Okay. So it sounds like you came from sort of a more a position working for a billboard company or an advertising company. And so you're taking that acumen and sort of bringing it into sort of the nonprofit sector. And it sounds like based on your mission, and would you mind if I just read your mission out so I can just.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I think that in many respects, when you want to know a nonprofit, you always just ask what their mission is. And so Art Pop's mission is to showcase artists by featuring their art in public spaces and equipping them to achieve sustainable success. We make art accessible to all people in the communities we serve because everyone deserves access to art. And so when I read this mission, number one, it looks like there's a focus on local artists, and of course, and achieving and helping them to achieve sustainable success. Because I think there's that old saying about the starving artist, and it sounds like your organization is trying to not have starving artists, but to have a community where artists can sustain themselves with art and not have it just be some sort of glorified hobby, but actually create a society or a community where one could pursue art as their vocation and actually live off of that. And of course, making art accessible to all people in the communities you serve, because everyone deserves access to art. And I think that there is a bit of a divide. You can kind of tell that because you even hear there's high art, right? There's these ideas that this is what some people like and others. And I like the idea that everyone deserves almost like a right to art in some respects. Well, tell me a little bit. So you came to Charlotte in 2014. And because your particular nonprofit is somewhat unique in the sense that I know I've worked with a number of nonprofits where it seems that they are more, they definitely, some of them are kind of like galleries and things of that nature, but it sounds like your particular, because of your background, is really looking at working with the artists themselves and almost kind of like a business incubator, or at least, or life skills incubator type of approach. So when you got here, how did you first connect into the art community? Because I always wonder, it's like, did you just show up and say artists everywhere? How did you get into the Charlotte art community? How and
The
what
very
did you
first
find?
thing that I did, knowing, coming from somewhat of an arts background and serving on Arts Council's board, I know that each city or county typically has an Arts Council. So the first thing I did was go to the Arts and Science Council in Charlotte back in 2015. And then Adams Outdoor Advertising of Charlotte covers a pretty vast territory, a 13-county greater Charlotte region, including North and South Carolina. And in each of those counties, there's also a local arts council, such as the Gaston Arts Council or the York County Arts Council. So visiting with all of those arts councils to help get the word out to each of those counties of artists so that they could apply for our call was really where it all started.
Okay. So when you started meeting with some of these artists, what are some of the or not necessarily problems, but what are some of the issues that our local artists are sort of facing? Like, so if you're a young kid and you find out you like painting or woodworking or music, let's think about just broaden our idea of art. Like I'm making music, or I'm making movies, or something of that nature. What, at least from your vantage point and what Art Pop is trying to ameliorate, what are some of those barriers to our local artists currently that keep them from sort of making art kind of more a sustainable vocation?
Yeah, so I think, what we hear all the time from local artists from the beginning, and really where this passion came from, is my ability to market a product or service, right? And I know how effective billboard advertising is. So taking that same concept to artists, because over and over again, when I speak with artists, they most of them, not all of them, because certainly some are very savvy at this, but most of them have said to me, Wendy, I just don't know how to market myself. How do I get through that? So this platform is really an advertising platform, just like a brand, product, or service would use, but it's the local artist's art. So that's the first step in getting their name out, making sure that they're not a secret in the community anymore. And then the second step that we have to ensure their success is, in addition to the advertising benefits we also offer a course through Artists University. And Artists University is a incubator teaching local artists or artists of all disciplines and types how to run a sustainable business as a local artist. So we give the platform of advertising, and we give the training in small business, because local artists are small businh. So those are two of the ways. And then a lot of them maybe could have difficulty getting into a gallery or a museum. So 4 times a year, our artists are in a pop-up gallery show. So we feature 20 artists each year, and 4 pop-up shows at the La Meridian Hotel. We feature 5 artists each time. So our entire class gets to be shown and have a gallery show. And this allows them to connect with the public, to sell their art directly to the public. And for those who are newer in a gallery setting or speaking in public or having folks collect their art in public, this gives them a great platform and a really comfortable environment to be able to do that. And it also gives the public a wonderful opportunity to meet and greet with local artists. And it's been a really successful component of our program.
So it sounds like when you got here and when Art Pop started, and sort of things that you were able to observe, is that obviously one of the barriers to sort of art as a sustainable sort of life for artists, one is, just understanding that, seeing yourself as a business proprietor and having to, I don't know, deal with contracts, incorporating, things of that nature. But that being said, that's sort of like, that's just corporate formalities. It sounds like on the other end, and something we had talked about in a previous conversation before this show, is it's sort of the market itself for local art. There's one thing to kind of know how to be a good business person, but what is, so, because here's, like, I'll give you sort of a very side example, not necessarily it's relevant and not relevant, is, when I go out, I go to a brewery, I like to drink the local beer, right? I prefer to, drink local. Is there, or what are the attempts, or what do you see anything on the ground of any kind of movement towards maybe consumption, or at least appreciate, or I think everyone appreciates it, but the consumption and like you said, that selling of direct from artist to patron, do we have anything happening here in Charlotte that is kind of promising for local artists to have a sort of a local market for their, whether it's obviously woodworking or sculptures or paintings or of the such.
Yeah, I do. You know, and I see this time that we're in right now coming out of COVID. I really think that there has been almost a resurgence or a new belief in local artists and what they can do in a community and how they impact the community. So the beauty is I think the Charlotte region right now is we are very interested in local art. And there are a lot of wonderful arts organizations in our greater Charlotte region who are here to serve artists and here to provide a platform outside of what we do and what we've been doing since 2014. So I just think it's a really wonderful time for local artists, and I think there's a true interest in seeing them succeed. And I think there is a better understanding now in our community that local artists are small business, and if you're interested in having something created, that you're not thinking that this is something that they are going to do at no charge, and that you have a respect for their small business.
So I know that like Art Pop has two sort of major programs or projects. I was actually going to talk about the cities first, but it sounds like maybe we should go into the inspiration projects next, and then maybe we'll double back to the cities. But could you, because it sounds like this idea of connecting the local artists to work. You know, well, obviously you're a business. You know, if you're looking at yourself as a business, then you got to have projects. You got to have ongoing, you know, sort of revenue of some sort or something. And so it looks like from what I've looked at, and maybe you can tell our audience a little bit about the inspiration projects and how you're giving opportunities for local artists. And I would assume that when we're talking about local artists, this is offered to, you know, artists from communities of color, from like other marginalized communities as well, because it sounds like from what I can tell, and just from the pictures that I've seen, that building in equity sounds like something that Art Pop is being conscious about in its work.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say cities, so we have two ways that we serve our mission. One of them is through what we call our cities programs. And I think anyone in this room has probably seen Art Pop, even if you didn't know what Art Pop was. So our cities programs is where we're truly advertising the local artists. And that you'll see on newsstands in Uptown, you'll see at the Charlotte airport, you'll see at highway billboards, you'll see that everywhere. So that's what we've been doing since 2014. Well, fast forward to October of 2020, I got a telephone call from Salesforce in Indiana. And Salesforce is the CRM for Lowe's. And Salesforce wanted to gift Lowe's a mural in Charlotte, and they wanted to gift that mural specifically to a Black artist. And so they called Art Pop Street Gallery to coordinate and manage that entire project. Well, when that happened, I thought to myself, my goodness, one of the largest companies in the entire world, Salesforce, is calling Art Pop Street Gallery. So myself and our board, we had a long conversation and many conversations, and we have developed and opened a new division of Art Pop. And that's what you're referring to, Inspiration Projects. And what Inspiration Projects does is they connect. We manage any art project that we have the ability to take on, and we offer a turnkey solution to any business, any individual who needs an art project completed. We select the right artist or group of artists for that job, and we manage the entire process. So the artist gets paid their entire worth for that project. And then Art Pop adds a donation project management fee on top of the artist fees in order to help us with more sustainable income or revenues and donations that come into Art Pop Street Gallery. So it's really a win-win. You get your project completed, the local artist small business is being used and being solicited, and then there's also a donation back to Art Pop for managing the project, because a lot of people just simply don't want to walk through that process or not even sure where to start. And Christina on our call today from the library, if she's familiar, we were able to create with one of the Library Foundation events 300 9-inch by 12-inch cutting boards for their library foundation gala. So,
Nice.
so Christina, I hope you got to have one of those cutting boards. But so really,
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
No.
well, we
Staff,
can help
no,
you with
that was like foundation, the foundation people, admin, you know,
I understand.
and the donors. They
So
were incredible though. And I
thank
loved how they highlighted each artist that did it. And it was, I mean, I think the foundation just nailed it with that gift.
Yeah, it was really incredible. So that happened through Lowe's has a partnership with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library Foundation, and they, of course, during COVID couldn't have their typical in-person gala and their Verse and Vino gala. So they called us to be a part of a party in a box, and we were able through a gift from Lowe's to be able to create an opportunity for 5 local woodworking artists to create 300 charcuterie boards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this sounds like, it's almost like an open invitation to really sort of any either person or business or foundation that is looking to do something art. Now, obviously, art is such a loaded term in the sense that it means so many things. So when Art Pop says, inspiration projects, that we can do an art project for you, can you give us a sample or maybe just give us a list of things that if I were a business or organization or just some individual who really wants to see something of value, something of aesthetic value, created for me, my organization, or for someone I love or something like that, what are some of the things that I could choose from? I did hear charcuterie board. Is that, it's got to be more than just charcuterie boards, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So, the first project that I mentioned, I would love for you all to be able to go see it if you haven't seen it for yourself, was created by the muralist Abel Jackson, a local Charlotte artist. And it is a mural titled Self-Love. And there's 3 beautiful children painted on this mural, and it's at 36th and Davidson at the Railway. And so it's the back wall of Jenny's Ice Cream and Wooden Robot. And that is just an incredible mural. So that's an 80-foot mural. We've done the 300 cutting boards. We have created a corporate holiday card for Charlotte Center City Partners. We have created the stewardship annual report cover for Crescent Communities. We are creating 2 murals as we speak right now on the West End at J Street and Jesco Street. We really have, it's really what you're dreaming up. What is the project that you want to create, and let us take care of all that for you. You give us your dream and your thoughts and ideas, and we'll make that happen with what you have in mind and deliver that end product to you. So really what we've done so far, I think, is just the beginning.
No, it sounds like if, local organizations, businesses, etc. Obviously, there's, like you said, so it sounds like you had the cover of an annual report. Everybody's got to do an annual report, whether you're in a for-profit or nonprofit sector, and a lot of them send their dollars outside of the Charlotte region, to various. I know that's, they're probably extremely good. That's why they're getting the money, right? Extremely good firms out there. But it sounds like this is a way to redirect, because Charlotte's got a lot of dollars. So this is a way to kind of redirect dollars that might flow out of Charlotte to some sort of large corporate entity that could go to Art Pop, which is working and coordinating and really distributing money to local artists who, again, are, need the work. And in a way, it sounds like it is more equitable in the sense that if you are choosing or being intentional at where you spend your advertising dollars or your whatever, promotional dollars, that choosing to work with an organization like Art Pop it's almost like telling people what your, that old saying is like personnel is policy, right? They say like, well, who I have on my team, kind of reflects sort of the value system that our organization is evincing. And it sounds like where we send our promotional dollars and such that, that if it's going to support local artists, mostly from, communities of color or marginalized, other types of marginalized communities, that they're seeing a little bit of that, getting a little piece of that pie in a sense. And so I think that's really, and it sounds like it's really to the mind's eye. It's almost it's almost really a question of what you can't do versus what you can do as far as an art project, because it sounds like there's so many different artists and that you would connect with them. So currently, yeah, how many folks or how many local artists are currently working with Art Pop right now?
Well, since for our Traditional Cities program, every year we jury in 20 artists, and we've been doing this since 2014. So artists that have been juried in.
Jury in, because those who aren't super familiar with it, because when I hear the word jury, I think of something very different than what you're probably saying when you say jury. So
what that means is every year when we have an open call and artists submit their art for consideration for Art Pop, there are a panel of judges that judge the work, and we call that a juried show. Because
is it any particular type of art, or is it just like whatever you're really good at, throw it at us, or is it limited to paintings for paintings versus, you know?
It's every discipline of art out there. Glass artists, wood artists, fabric artists, painters, photographers, you name it. I promise you it's been an Art Pop. Yes.
Oh, wow. So just come one, come all, bring your, all you huddled masses, bring your, bring your best, bring your A game, sounds like.
I think that because it's on a billboard, and it's either on a digital billboard or printed onto a vinyl that's wrapped around the billboard.
Yeah, somewhat visual.
I think people think that it's only for photographers and painters, but ultimately anybody's work is photographed and then reproduced for the billboard, which means we can photograph any type of art. It could be sculpture, it could be mosaic, it could be photography, it could be fabric. So it's for any type of art.
Okay, so then we've got 20 folks every year come in and they bring, their art, and then they are allowed access to, I guess, so say for instance, I'm one of these artists, right? And I bring like a painting that I think is great, and I get in there and it's juried and they think it's great too. So then what happens to me next?
Okay, so I'm going to back up just a little bit. You had asked how many artists. So we have, through our Traditional Cities programs, we have promoted over 150 local Charlotte area artists.
Wow.
Now, through our inspiration projects, we're probably right now at about, I'm going to safely say 25 artists that we have worked with in inspiration projects at this time. And you do not have to be a juried in Art Pop Street Gallery artist to be a inspiration project artist. I want to make sure that that's clear. So that is an open to whoever is the right artist for the right job. Yes, we have used a lot of our Art Pop artists because we have that relationship with them. Yeah. And then, sorry, I got lost on your second part of the question. If you could repeat that again.
Oh, I think that was, good question. I'm trying to, I almost want to say, Shannon, what was I asking? But no, I think it was sort of, it was in that vein. I guess it's, is that we've got 20. Yeah, I think it was total number. I said, and you answered that. So
you asked Rocky, you asked the total number, but you asked like if you had won. Like you were the artist that had won.
What's my process? Yeah.
Okay, so so your piece of art, every year we do an open call. The class of 2022, our call will open up in September. We use an online submission portal known as Call for Entry. So artists submit that piece of work, crop to our specs into callforentry.org. The call's open for a month. And then we have a panel typically of 7 judges that judge the art every year. And the panel completely changes in its entirety every year, except for me. I'm the only staple on the panel of judges each year. And we change that up very purposefully. We use many Art Pop alum artists as judges. And then of course, gallery owners, people who are art educators, art curators. So anyone who's on the jurying panel is someone in the art world on some level. And we want to make sure that it's a fair and juried show. And what we don't want is, we don't want to have, even if they're the most amazing work, we don't want to have an art pop street gallery class of 20 painters. You want to have various disciplines of art and make it very intriguing and appealing to everyone. And that way it doesn't just become a program of painters. There's nothing wrong with painters. We absolutely love them, but we don't want the program to be only 20 oil paints or 20 acrylic paints.
Okay, and so you mentioned that there were many gallery owners that are in your judges. Have we seen the ability? Have some of the gallery owners like seen the talent that is in Charlotte kind of coming through Art Pop, and have we seen sort of transfer or sort of showcasing of some of our local folks and some of these other galleries that are owned, or is that's good?
Yeah, one gallery that stands out to me, she was located in Uptown and now she's in Plaza Midwood, is the gallery owner Hannah Blanton of Sozo Gallery.
Okay.
Sozo Gallery has featured many art pop artists. Goodyear Arts and Camp North End has featured many art pop artists. Co Gallery in Charlotte has featured many art pop artists. I could probably go on and on, but yes, you know, when you are receiving, at the beginning, we were about a $1.5 million advertising program. Today, we're about a $6 million advertising program. So when you're selecting an artist that's in a massive billboard outdoor advertising campaign all over the Charlotte region and beyond, not only are we in Charlotte, but we're at movie theaters on digital billboards across the country. We're on digital billboards on a truck fleet that runs from San Francisco to Los Angeles. So these artists are on millions of dollars worth of advertising. So a gallery would be very well served by selecting one of our artists to be featured, because they're essentially getting a free advertising campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's like, I think in one of our previous conversations, you know, Wendy, we had talked about whatever needs to be done to sort of reorient the local, I mean, the art lover's mind to at least consider, if not, you know, consume or to showcase, to use, you know, more of our local artists. Because again, I think for you to meet that mission of a sustainable artistry, not just sort of, you know, hobby artistry, or, oh, I'm pretty good at this woodworking thing, I'm going to show up at the farmer's market and sell something, and then I'll go back to my, you know, banker job or something like that, you know.
No, that's not what we're looking to serve. We are really looking to serve the artist public that is truly wanting to be full-time artists. Now, there are plenty of our artists who have day jobs and are aspiring to be full-time artists. We want to make it happen. After your year in Art Pop, we want that is our nirvana, right?
Yeah.
When it happens to an artist, that's when we know we've done our job.
Yeah, it's funny because in my line of work, you know, I always meet a lot of folks who want to start nonprofits, you know, who are working in the private sector and they're wanting to kind of move to the nonprofit sector. But it sounds like there are folks who really, you know, maybe in the private sector, but their heart and their desire would be to, sure, I take a pay cut, right? But if I can at least live, you know, I want to be an artist. And I think that I think what I think is laudable here is that, you know, I mean, there was a time where, you know, and I mean, obviously musical artists and things like that, you know, they sell a lot of stuff. They are held in some, you know, a regard. But, you know, I think that almost on kind of just a work and vocation as dignity aspect, to say that I'm an artist is not something that, well, did you drop out of college or something like that? These kind of people have this kind of idea is that, you know, if you can sustain it and you're creating something of aesthetic value, it's almost like sort of in sort of old world ideas, like, well, there's the artist, there's the something, there's the farmer, there's this, you know, these are vocations that that people live by and also appreciated for, right? You know, I mean, it's and you know, it's like a craft or you know, or something of that nature. And you know, I think that's really important. That I think. And I think that's on us, you know, intentional on our own end, but us being those who like art or love art, and to whatever extent that we can be, I guess and I think what I'm hearing is that Art Pop is trying to kind of connect those local artists who are striving to, you know, make their lives in art, trying as being sort of a connector to the outside amorphous world of consumers, and whether they be large businesses or foundations or just individuals or just people who, you know, instead of going to IKEA and going to get one of those big, you know, whatever things they have on the second floor, why don't you go and get something from the local artist who could probably build you the same looking thing, except it'd be something that you'd actually feel instead of just some sort of print of some bike and tulips in Holland or something like that that you would see. And I think that
I think all of us totally appreciate shopping local, whatever that might be. Local small businesses, local whatever that might be. Local artists need to be seen in that same vein. Yes, we do not want you buying your art at the big box shops. You know, while we appreciate what they do and what you can get from them, you can get any type of art. You can commission a local artist truly for anything. And wouldn't it be great when someone comes to your home to admire whatever that is that's on your shelf or wall or sculpture or whatever that might be, that you would have a story about that local artist that you supported with art that's in your home or business.
Yeah. And I mean, that adds more sort of culture, right? You know, it creates, you know, like this is, you know, you got a Rocky, you know, I'm not kidding. It's like, you know, I don't think they would, ooh, you got one of those. It's like, that, you know, I mean, I think that's, you know, because you almost see that with like, I mean, not to necessarily like, say art and beers or something, but you almost kind of see that like in the last 10 years or so with craft beer, right? It's like, oh, did you get the local beer, or is this some IPA that's like 3 trillion ABV, you know, whatever they're trying to kind of push around. But you can kind of see that there's a market for that because people, you know, there's that kind of connection, like, you know, if it's made in your town, right, you kind of feel more connected to it, or maybe it's just from a certain neighborhood or something like that. And art, you know, I mean, people are drawn to art for a variety. I mean, you should like it. You should just, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it just because, you know, it's from someone you necessarily, I mean, you got to like it, right? You know, you got to live with it. But that being said, it's so much variety and there's such a huge, that connection, you know, could be made. So I know we talked about, obviously the local artists, but, you know, I think, you know, we'd be kind of remiss without what is the support for the local art nonprofits, right? So I think that we've talked about supporting our local artists, but we do, and I've worked with a few of them, you know, locally based grassroots or just community based local art nonprofits. And obviously, you know, you can't go super far outside the confines of local media, whether it be WFAE or QC NERV or the Charlotte Observer. They're obviously local art funding and things that it's been in the news. And I was wondering, you know, I know that there's a lot of discussion about the arts, and you mentioned the Arts and Science Council and such. I think from the vantage point, and maybe you can't talk for all local community-based art programs, but I mean, from your vantage point, what opportunities and what sort of other or not so opportunities do you see currently in the current discussion of funding nonprofits dedicated to art currently here in Charlotte?
Yeah, so I think, you know, for anybody who sees a local arts nonprofit, of course, we would love that to be Art Pop Street Gallery. And if you are interested in donating to Art Pop Street Gallery, you can do that at artpop.flipcause.com. But if you're interested in supporting any arts organization, they all need your support. I promise you that. And so I think I'd liken this to, if you love something that's happening in your community through the arts, whether that's performance or visual, or organizations like Charlotte is Creative, any of those arts organizations, if you go to their events, you should donate as well, because, and you can't just assume that they're always going to be there, because I can tell you that up until August of 2020, we didn't even know our future at Art Pop Street Gallery. There have been extremely difficult years where we did not know when we closed out our program at the end of the year if we were going to be able to return. So sometimes I think people, because you're open and up and running, and for us, being on $6 million worth of advertising space, I think the general public can think, gosh, they don't need any help. But I'm here to tell you, we live year in and year out. So I I think all the arts organizations are probably feeling that same way. So I would tell you, wherever your heart is pulled to an arts organization, I can promise you they need support. So I would just tell you, if it's us, wonderful. If it's the Arts and Science Council, wonderful. If it's the Gaston County Arts Council, wonderful. You know, whatever it might be, I think just definitely know that they need your support. And there is a lot happening right now in the discussion in Charlotte and in Mecklenburg County, specifically about arts funding, if you're following that at all in the news. But I do believe it's all for the good. And I do believe there's going to be significant changes in the smaller arts organizations funding. And I think this is a beautiful segue to tell you about a wonderful piece of news that just came out yesterday. If you all have not heard, Lending Tree Foundation has created what they call the Lend a Hand Alliance cohort. And we just announced yesterday that Art Pop Street Gallery is one of the recipients, one of the 10 Charlotte nonprofits who's going to be supported for 3 entire years from the Lend a Hand Alliance. And we are
fantastic.
We are over the moon. I think yesterday I literally cried a river. So if my eyes look tired, I promise you it's because I have cried and cried the happiest of tears. This is the most 3-year support at this level is something we have never seen at Art Pop Street Gallery in the history of our organization. So I do believe that corporate philanthropy is being disrupted right now, and people are doing things very differently, and we are beyond proud to be a recipient of that.
No, that's fantastic news. Congratulations. No, I think that term disruption of philanthropy, whether it be the corporate philanthropy or others, is that it's not necessarily a disruption in the sense that you're stopping it, but it sounds like rerouting it or changing different. It's kind of like why organizations try to push for equity, right? We want to try to have again, the idea that the personnel is your policy, right? Where, and I think this is where there are those of you in the audience, whether you're in corporate Charlotte, America, or the nonprofit sector or whatever, is that there are many avenues that you can take, or your organization can take, to help support local arts nonprofits and local artists, and they kind of go hand in hand. And that they kind of run the gamut from with the local art nonprofits like Art Pop Street Gallery or some of the others is one is when they have an event, buy a ticket, show up. Yes. And then when you get there, if they're selling art, take a flyer, take one home. Yeah. I think the saddest thing is when local artists would bring their wares and everyone kind of gets the cocktails and they enjoy, and they oh, there's a charcuterie board, let's have some cheese here, let's enjoy it, and tell me the story about art. Tell me the story behind this. And they say, well, I grew up in this part of West Charlotte and these are the things I saw, and people nod their heads, but then the artist still walks away with the same piece of art even no one bought it. Yeah. And I think that's something that we need to kind of like is that it's one thing to kind of show support by the ticket, which is important, but I think I think that taking something home, it helps kind of change the narrative a little bit about and I'm not saying you have to have like a whole garage full of these things that you've gone and purchased, but I think the thing that we're seeing here is that that you can support the local nonprofits by donating your money to them. They're 501c3s. You will get a tax deduction. Just like if you want to support the work of Art Pop through either its city's programs or their inspiration project program, as Wendy said, you can donate at their website at artpop.flipcause.com. I like Flipcause, by the way. I actually I hired them when I was running that nonprofit, and I thought they were great. They're a great organization to work with. And then you can also follow them on social media at at Art Pop Street Gallery, and also at #ArtPopCLT as well. and again, local artists. I think, what we talk about is just, they've got to do a great, we're gonna these nonprofits and themselves are working to build them up to see themselves as sustainable ventures, but we've also, as a community, need to take a commitment to create that market for them, to create that sort of fertile place for them to, it's one thing to tell someone to be a great farmer, but unless we give them, fertile fields to kind of like plant, it's, just got really smart, just going to have just really smart artists who know everything, but we need to have, we as well need to be intentional about our art purchases. So
yeah,
I know, I go to IKEA too. I'm not, not above whatever, but at the same time, they're not going to be dying if they, those big huge things are not just going to stay there. But I think a few local artists can do a lot better if you buy some of their big stuff, and I guarantee you probably. Yeah,
there's some wonderful opportunities. We have 4 pop-up gallery shows every year at the Le Méridien Hotel in Uptown Charlotte. And in the chat box, if any of you are using the chat box, I put the dates in there. So our next one is August the 7th. You'll be able to see 5 local Charlotte artists at the event. So if you're social media users on Instagram, we have an event stories button that's there all the time to tell you when our events are. On our website, our pop-up events, as well as on our Facebook page. If you go to our events tab, you'll see all the events that we have. So I would just encourage you, our pop-up gallery shows at Le Méridien at the Red Salt by David Burke restaurant lounge area is where we have these, and it's free to come. It's open to the public, and it's a beautiful opportunity for you to meet and collect art from local artists. And they're really easy. And one thing about Art Pop that I think is important to talk about is how approachable we are. So we don't do highbrow. We want everyone to come to our events. I mean, everyone. So everyone needs to have access to art. So if you don't know how to talk about a specific discipline or genre, or know who Monet is or not, it doesn't matter to us. We want you to be inspired. And I believe these local artists will inspire you. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So we hope that you can come to one of our events. Just come, invite 20 friends. We just had our first one on June 26th. I'm proud to tell you that every single artist showing, all 5 artists went home with sales that night. We had probably about 150, 175 people there. It was just a wonderful event. So I hope you all will come, and if I can help make any connections to a local artist for you, don't ever hesitate to reach out. If you're curious who our artists are, when you go to our website, artpopstreetgallery.com, we have a tab on there called Meet Our Artists. You'll see on that tab our current class of 2021 artists and be redirected to their websites, and there's a profile on the artist there. And then you can go into our archive button, and you can see the 500 plus artists that have been in Art Pop Street Gallery in 15 cities and 12 states since 2014. Today, we only operate in the greater 13 county Charlotte region.
Okay, well, we're right now close to about 10 minutes out, so maybe this will be an opportunity to open up the floor. You can either put I did see some things in the chat. I didn't read them all, but you can either unmute yourself, ask a question, and you've got Wendy here to learn more about Art Pop. Maybe you yourself as an artist, some artists, or you've got some, maybe you're with a business that wants to do an inspirational project. I mean, there's a great opportunity to kind of talk to Wendy, and maybe she can help hook it up for you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer anything. And then before we do go into a Q&A, I want to introduce Chris Horner. He's on the call today. He's our board chair. Thank you, Chris. Oh. Yeah, thank you for your support. He's been with Art Pop as a friend. We met at one of our pop-up shows. He's just been an incredible friend, and now he's our board chair and just does wonderful work with and for the mission. So I want to make sure to point him out on the call today. So thank you, Chris. Hi, Chris.
All right, Chris. And I like the idea of the pop-up, because it's kind of one of those things where it's almost it's like, well, if we can't get into your whatever gallery here, your gallery there, we'll pop up and we'll do our own gallery. I mean, nothing stops. I mean, that's a very American thing. It's the whole pop-up idea. It's just, well, if you're not letting me in there, we're just going to do our own thing. And I think that's fantastic. And I think for those of you who kind of like that sort of punk or rebel kind of aspect of things, you know, put your money where your mouth is and go and support these local artists at an art pop event.
Yeah, is there anything I could answer for anybody? I'd love to take any questions, and feel free. You know, we're happy to answer anything.
All right. Well, I don't see any questions. I guess you must have answered everybody's questions.
Well, I was just going to make a comment, you know, because Ismail is also on here, and you know, Wendy, you were talking about how this kind of started as a grassroots effort. So, you know, Rocky, this could be our next topic, is that, you know, how people get into these grassroots efforts. You know, and
just in general.
Yeah, in general. Because
yeah,
I mean, it really takes
a sociological question. I mean, that's kind of, I think you kind of have to be in the right place, the right time, the right situations, the right people. I mean, I don't know.
And you know, what drives you, and you know, and you know, sometimes, and like you said, the right situation at the right time, because some people, you know, could easily give up, but maybe it was just the right time. But some people have that passion. But you know, just hearing everybody's different story might be, might be kind of interesting, because I know in a lot of our, you know, are you ready to start a nonprofit?
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, I see where you're
a lot of
coming
people are questioning, and it's like, well, you know, maybe I just want to keep it as a grassroots, you know, group and not really go into a 501c3, but you know, but what does it really take?
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's really important content and conversation, because running a nonprofit, I promise you, is not for the faint of heart, folks.
No.
I've said that on a gazillion. I've said that on a gazillion of occasions. I mean, that's why I'm practicing law again. I did that for a little bit, and I was like, I'm out of here. You know,
but the beauty is, I think the grassroots efforts, the people who are, you know, boots on the ground, really working and stirring the pot all the time for their organization. You know, when I look at when we started in 2014 with Adams Outdoor Advertising, Adams Outdoor Advertising is family to me. I worked there for 20 years, right? So it was an easy transition going from the not an easy transition leaving corporate, going to nonprofit, I can assure you, but the way we built our nonprofit. But now, while Adams has been with us every single day for every 8 years that we've been in this community, we've added more and more media partners. So there's so many different organizations who are serving the Art Pop Street Gallery mission, and we continue to grow our benefits and what we offer. But it is because of companies like Adams Outdoor Advertising, Charlotte Center City Partners, Audience Media, all these different companies who are supporting our organization. And I think, you know, from a donor level, people love to see people who are fiscally responsible. And I think it's safe for us to say that Art Pop Street Gallery is probably one of the most fiscally responsible organizations. We are able to turn that, our budget currently, our annual budget in Charlotte is $150,000, and we turn that into $6 million of advertising, education, and scholarships and pop-up shows every year. So when you're donating to us, each dollar is turned into thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and they are definitely looking at that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That says a lot.
Yeah. And you know, there's just a lot of people, because you have to pay for so many things. The beauty is the relationships that I have with the out-of-home industry, the outdoor advertising billboard industry, that they love and respect what we're doing at Art Pop Street Gallery, and they say yes to us, and they're donating that space. So so it is just, we're able to do really miracle work with a very small budget.
I mean, that's the art of running a nonprofit, or at least definitely a grassroots nonprofit. You know, you do less with more. I mean, do more with less. Might be that might be another sector. Do more with less. But,
Well, and Ismail, his you know, his story is, you know, he started his grassroots efforts in a book club. You know, for it eventually has gone into affordable housing and the 2040 plan. And he is now working with the city on the with the 2040 plan. So he's come a long way in what, a year, maybe a year.
Yeah, I don't. Can you guys hear me? So it's like a little bit of background noise where I am.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're referring to first is the Housing Justice Coalition, and yeah, that started as part of a reading group. And we're not formally incorporated. We're very much still, for different reasons. I mean, we're grassroots, and the newer stuff is with the Community Benefits Coalition, and that's really a kind of a collection of neighborhoods and nonprofits that are advocating broadly around equity and development and other decision making that affects neighborhoods, which of course we're heavily focused on the 2040 plan and now the Unified Development Ordinance. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in any, I think, way that you can bring like art and community together. And particularly in terms of events that draw people out, both for exposure of local artists and also exposing more people in the community locally to the type of work we're doing. So yeah, I mean, I've just been listening, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, the Community Benefits Coalition, there are a lot of vulnerable neighborhoods. So the West, of course, now my mind wasn't even on that. So the West Side Land Trust is involved in that. And so there's a lot of communities, neighborhood communities that would, could probably benefit so much from, art pop street gallery artists being within those communities.
Yeah, and I think it's important, since you're talking about the West End right now, and I brought up the Lend a Hand Alliance cohort. Somebody put their mute on. The Lend a Hand Alliance cohort, there are a couple of organizations from the West Side, Freedom Communities, West Side Community Land Trust, Do Greater Charlotte. They are all part of the 10 cohorts in the Lend a Hand Alliance cohort. So there's right now, the West End is getting some incredible support.
Fantastic.
As it should. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, that's the fact. That's a fact. It absolutely needs, it deserved support yesterday.
Yeah, but one other thing I'd love to bring up, just so you all know about this, that does involve another nonprofit organization, is our Adams Outdoor Advertising billboards are static, and they're printed on billboard vinyl. I don't know how familiar you all are with ads on billboards, but the static ones, the non-digital billboards, are actually printed on a substrate called vinyl. And so our art is printed on those. At the end of each year, when those 20 billboards come down and we renew with the 20 new artists, we work with an organization in Charlotte called Project 658. Project 658 teaches refugees how to cook and sew, and they take our bags and make tote bags and bottle wine totes out of those. And so we sell those and repurpose those. But what we're doing is we're paying a living wage to local refugees in order for them to stay employed. So that is something we're super proud of. And we keep those vinyls out of landfills, which is super important, because the billboard vinyls never go away. So it's really important that they're recycled. So that's something we're super proud of. And we'll be doing a fashion show either in fourth quarter of this year or first quarter of next year. And the fashion will all be made out of billboard vinyls, art pop billboard vinyls.
Speaking of billboard vinyl, Shannon, are you on this still? I see you here. So talking about more crossovers. One of our guests, I guess, how many episodes was it with Dress for Success? What was that, like about 3 or 4 months ago? And they were on. And then Shannon had the opportunity to be on was it a vinyl billboard that you were on?
I think it was
a vinyl billboard. I saw Shannon on a billboard about 3 months ago.
That's right.
It was digital.
Like Great Women of Charlotte or something like that. I mean, that's fantastic.
That was a beautiful campaign, and that's Adams Outdoor Advertising, folks. Another time for them donating their time and space to great causes in Charlotte for Dress for Success. It was beautiful. I'm so glad you got to be on a billboard, Shannon.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
I mean, that was fantastic. Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, that's why she's the boss around here. That's why she's on the billboard. I didn't see Nathan on a billboard. No offense, Nathan, wherever you are. I didn't see you on it. I didn't see it.
I think Donnie, did you have a question? I wanted to give him a chance.
I did. Hello, everybody. I work for Charlotte Rescue Mission, and we have been, for the past year, really trying to partner with local artists to bring awareness to our cafe as well as just to them. So I don't know if you guys are
Cafe is
familiar with
awesome, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
We work with Matthew Claiborne and Arco, two local artists here, to be able to do some murals on our campus. So we have one. It's called the Heart Porter, that's on the side of our Community Matters Cafe. And then Arco has done a tremendous job of really doing his artwork on our dumpster wall. So I just want to introduce myself to Wendy and see if there's a potential place we could partner and do some things like that, because we've been working with those two. We'd love to do some other things as far as getting our local artists just on our campus and being creative in some spaces. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I've been talking, I think it is Sharon, forgive me, it's either Sharon or Shannon. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Sharon.
Sharon, we're in conversations right now about some things in the future for either Community Matters or the Charlotte Rescue Mission. So yeah, we're in those conversations, and hopefully we'll be able to partner on a paid project in the future to help support local artists and what you all do.
Yeah. And Wendy, to get together, any of your partners, your networks, that the partnerships that you're forming, we can always do something at the library on Facebook Live, to get more exposure to what you guys are doing within the community. We would love to be able to do that. We look at ourselves as an essential connector, within the community. So any way that we can help do that, we are more than willing. So
thank you.
We're
so
always
much.
there.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think, we're off to a great start with the cutting board. So let's just keep going.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
fun. Yeah, that's so much fun.
You'll never hear a crossword from me about the library. I love the Charlotte Mecklenburg Public Library, and not just because they've been, hosting me, and I don't know how many years now, since Steve, been partnering with you guys on a variety of projects for forever. But what I love about like the nonprofit sector and when different folks from different areas come, is that you can start to see sort of those connections that come up. And if our show can serve as a connector as well, so much the better, and I think that's a great thing. So do we got any other questions from our I guess now our collective panel, because now we've gone meta. Now everyone's a host. So anybody have any questions for themselves right now?
No.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us here today and allowing us to share our mission. And please do follow us on social. We post really fun, meaningful, great, inspiring, gorgeous, creative. So Art Pop Street Gallery, all one word on social.
Yeah, and go out and buy some local art.
Please.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yes,
That's all I'm going to leave it. That's what I'm going to leave today's show is, if it's a local artist support them. But you don't have to buy it at IKEA or wherever. Just support local art and do it by taking some home with you.
Yes, see, all the art that's behind me is all local art, I promise.
Oh, wow.
That's in my home office.
You're lucky.
Yes, very. Yeah. So support local artists. It's so important, y'all. And thank you for your time today. And
thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody. This is, again, we're in the middle of the week, in the middle of the summer, and if you showed up, kudos to you. So thanks very much. And I guess, Shane, we're out.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.